Welcome all. Today we are going to discuss about aggregates in concrete technology. In this session, we will be discussing about the what is aggregate and what factors we should consider while studying about aggregates and what are the tests to be conducted before selecting the aggregates to make concrete and what are all the mechanical properties of aggregates. Fine. First, first of all, when before having any knowledge about before studying about concrete, you should be aware of its ingredients like cement, water, and aggregates and all. So that only we are now going to discuss about aggregates. Aggregate is an important constituent in concrete because it occupies almost 70 to 80% of the total volume of the concrete, and it reduces the shrinkage in the concrete. Previously, in the initial time, what we considered means aggregates were considered as the inert materials, means it doesn't react with any material like water and all, it doesn't react. Such a way, there was a thought that it is an inert material. And later it was found that some aggregates are chemically active and it exhibits some chemical bond at the interface of the aggregate and the matrix. Here, matrix means that cement paste means that aggregates is responsible for creating the bond between the cement paste and the aggregate so that the strength of the concrete will be increased. Right. Uh, we know that other ingredients like cement and all, it is manufactured in the industry, so we know what is the nature of the cement and all. But whereas water aggregates, it's a natural material, so we can't say that this would be its a nature. It may vary depending on the location, so we should know many things about aggregates before we are considering it for the study. So which are all the points to be considered while discussing about aggregates means its classification, its source, size, shape, texture, strength, specific gravity, bulk density, its moisture content, cleanliness, bulking factor, its soundness, chemical, thermal properties, durability, sieve analysis, and grading. These are all the considerations we should study before entering into making concrete. Okay, so first we are going to discuss about classification. Basically, aggregates or they will be discussing like heavy weight aggregate, lightweight aggregate, and normal weight aggregate. Heavy and lightweight aggregate and all we will be discussing in the further coming classes. But here we are going to discuss only about the normal weight aggregate. Okay. In normal weight aggregate, it is classified into basically it is classified into two types. One is natural aggregate and another one is artificial aggregate. Here it comes under the size. Okay, this coarse aggregate, fine aggregate and all comes under the size. But basically, the aggregates are classified as natural aggregate and artificial aggregate. Natural aggregate means sand, gravel, and some of the aggregates like crushed rock. Some rocks will be crushed to form a natural aggregate. For example, granite, sometimes basalt and sandstone is also chosen as a natural aggregate. Here, the cheapest aggregators, sand and gravel, since they have been reduced to their present size by the natural agents itself. We don't need to reduce it artificially by industry and all. We don't need to reduce the size by any other means. It will be reduced by itself due to natural agents and all. Next, coming to the artificial aggregator. The best example for artificial aggregators, broken bricks. They will be using a broken bricks as a aggregate while for flooring and all. Usually, in many sites they will be using the broken bricks because it acts as a aggregate, but it is used for mass concrete only when the reinforced concrete work unless the crushing strength of the brick is high. Okay, for the mass concrete structures and all, we should use the broken brick only when the crushing strength is high, or else we should not go for this kind of bricks as an aggregate. Next, coming to blast furnace slag. they will be using this slag as a artificial aggregate, which has very good fire resisting property, but they are not widely used because in the point of corrosion, it doesn't resist corrosion that much because it contains some amount of sulfur. So they won't prefer this kind of a blast furnace slag aggregate for reinforced concrete and all. Okay, next coming to source. We all know natural aggregates are basically originate from the bedrocks. Okay, bedrocks or means these natural aggregates are obtained from the different kind of rocks. Okay, it may be a igneous rocks, metamorphic rocks, or sedimentary rocks. So we would have been studied about these kind of rocks in engineering geology. Igneous rocks are formed by cooling of molten magma. Okay, whereas sedimentary rocks are formed below the seabed and then they are lifted up. But metamorphic rocks, it is both igneous rocks and sedimentary rocks which are later metamorphed due to some extreme heat and pressure condition. They are metabolized to form metamorphic rocks. These are also basically they are igneous or sedimentary rocks. From these are the source of the aggregates. To some extent in making concrete, the geological formation of parent rocks are influenced by the source of the aggregates because of its weathering and some alteration may takes place in the aggregate. So only the geological formation of the parent rocks are very important when considering the aggregates, when we are discussing about the aggregates. Next we are going to discuss about the size of the aggregate. The maximum size that is practicable to handle under some given condition should be used. Okay, for 80 mm size is the maximum size that can be conveniently used for making concrete. But the use of largest possible maximum size will result in, okay, which means for some construction there will be possible maximum size will be certain range, like for some kind of construction maximum size of the aggregate we will be using is 20 mm, whereas for that kind of for what happen means that this kind of maximum size of aggregate, when we use a maximum permissible limit, it will reduce the cement content, it will also reduce the water requirement, and it reduces the drying shrinkage in the concrete. How this maximum size is limited, certain conditions will be there, based on that only these limitations will be provided, right? So these conditions are thickness of the section. First we are going to discuss about the thickness of the section, and the second thing is spacing of reinforcement, third one clear cover, and fourth one mixing, handling and placing techniques. That is the manufacturing of concrete, that comes under the fourth point. Okay, coming to the thickness of the section, the aggregate size should not be greater than 1/4 of the maximum thickness of the structural member. For example, if you are taking a wall, okay, the wall thickness will be usually 230 mm. So the thickness divided by 4, it should be the maximum size of the aggregate. More, you should not use any aggregate more than that size. That is the thing here given for the, that is the restriction given about the thickness. Okay, for heavily reinforced concrete member, the maximum nominal size would be usually restricted to 5 mm less than the minimum clear distance. This minimum clear distance is between the main bars, or it should be 5 mm less than the minimum cover. Okay, so we should take two conditions for reinforced conditions. We should be taking two conditions. Reinforced concrete members, we will be taking two conditions. First one is it should be the nominal maximum size of the aggregate should be 5 mm less than the minimum clear distance between the main bar. And second condition is it should be 5 mm less than the minimum cover. We should compare these two values, and whichever is smaller, that size should be the maximum size of the aggregate that can be used for that construction, that member, that structural member. Okay. So according to the size, how they are classified means usually aggregates are classified as fine aggregate, coarse aggregate, and all in all aggregate. Okay, what does that fine aggregate means? The aggregates that were passing through 4.75 mm ISC, that is termed as fine aggregate. Coarse aggregate means that same aggregates which are all retained on that 4.7 mm ISC. That is termed as coarse aggregate. That is when the size of the aggregate is greater than 4.75 mm, it is termed as coarse aggregate. When it is less than 4.75 mm, it comes under fine aggregate. But in all aggregate means it contains both fine aggregate and coarse aggregate. For example, if we consider means if you are taking one nominal size of the aggregate as 20 mm and I am passing it through 20 mm ISC. Okay, so it contains fine. It is a fine aggregate and also means it is a coarse aggregate, right? It also contains some amount of fine aggregate. That is called all aggregate. Next, we are going to discuss about the shape of the aggregate. Okay, the most important characteristics of aggregate is its shape because it affects the workability of the concrete. Workability is very important characteristic when you are discussing about concrete. Okay, it determines the strength, it determines the working ability of the concrete, it determines the water cement ratio. Everything is important, every aspect is important when we are considering the workability of the concrete. Okay, from the point of economy in cement requirement for given water cement ratio, molded aggregate are preferable than angular aggregate. Molded aggregate means that rounded aggregate. Okay, okay. We shall discuss why that is important when you are discussing about water cement ratio. First, before going into that, we should know what are the different shapes that are available in aggregate. First one is rounded aggregate. Second one is irregular or it is partly rounded. Okay. Third one is angular aggregate. Fourth one is flaky. Fifth one is elongated and sixth one is flaky and elongated aggregate. Okay. First, we are going to discuss about rounded aggregate. In this rounded aggregate, the minimum percentage of voids will be in the range of 32 to 33 percentage. Okay. The void ranges about 32 to 33 percentage. So the minimum ratio of surface area to the volume will be lesser. Hence, the water requirement for lubrication will also be less. So, it gives very good workability and it needs only lesser amount. Since the water cement ratio is less, it requires only very less amount of cement also. But the only disadvantage is it does not create any bond between that cement paste and the aggregate. So it is not suitable for any high strength concreting structures and all, and it is also not suitable for making any pavements that were subjected to tension. Next, coming to irregular or partly rounded aggregate. These kind of aggregates have the percentage of voids may range from 35 to 37 percentage. This has lesser workability compared to rounded aggregate, and it so the water content will also be little lesser. Sorry, the water content will be higher. Since the workability is lesser, the water requirement will be higher, and hence the cement will be needed more for the constant water cement ratio. Here, the interlocking between the aggregate and the cement paste is somewhat better when compared to rounded aggregate. It's not too good. It's somewhat better when compared to rounded aggregate. So, this kind of aggregate is also not capable of using in high strength concrete structures or some pavements which were subjected to tension. Next, coming to angular aggregate. In angular aggregate, the percentage of voids may range from 38 to 45 percentage. It requires more amount of water for lubrication. Okay, so it gives only less workability. It is requiring huge amount of water, so the workability will be lesser. Okay, so the cement content will be increased. But the one good thing about this kind of aggregate is the bond between that is the interlocking bond between the aggregate and the cement matrix, that is the cement paste, is very good. So in many places we will be using only this angular aggregate. So it is highly suitable for high strength concrete and for the pavements which were all subjected to tension. Next, coming to flaky aggregate. The term flaky means the aggregate will be flatter, that kind of aggregate is termed as a flaky aggregate. Okay. Usually this aggregate is, they will be telling the aggregate as flaky when its least dimension is less than 60% of its mean dimension. Now you'll be thinking what is meant by mean dimension and what is meant by least dimension. Okay. For example, now we are taking on aggregate. Okay. It was passing through 25 mm sieve and it is retaining on 20 mm sieve. Okay, so the mean size of the aggregate will be 20 plus 25 divided by 2. Hope you will be understanding. So I repeat, if I am taking some amount of aggregate, I am just passing it to 25 mm sieve and it is retained on 20 mm sieve. So the mean size of the aggregate will be, that is the aggregate that were passed through the 25 mm sieve and it was retained on 20 mm sieve. No, that aggregate's mean dimension will be 20 mm plus 25 mm divided by 2, which means through which sieve size it is passing and through which sieve it is retained. That both sieve size we should take average, that cumulative we should take and should make the mean value that gives the mean dimension of the aggregate. It should be less than the 60% of the least dimension. Here the least dimension is 20 mm. So it should be less than 20 mm. Then the aggregate is then the aggregate we have chosen for this test is termed as a flaky aggregate. Okay, this flaky aggregate is not good since it affects the durability of the concrete. Next, we are coming to elongated aggregate. Elongated means the aggregate will be stretched in the lengthwise direction. That is called elongated aggregate. It can be defined as the aggregate can be defined as elongated. I mean, its length is greater than 180% of its mean dimension. Previously, what we have discussed about flaky aggregators, the least dimension is less than 60% of mean dimension. Here, the length is 180% greater than its mean dimension. That kind of aggregate is termed as elongated aggregate. And here you should note one more thing, that this flaky aggregate and elongated aggregate should not be more than 10 to 15% in the total aggregate. If it is more than that, the concrete is not suitable for any construction purposes. When we are cumulatively, that both flaky and elongated aggregate together should not be more than 30%. It is not desirable for any construction. Next, we are going to discuss about the texture of the aggregate. Surface structure, it is the measure of what to say. It is a measure of which it depends on the relative degree to which the particle surfaces are polished, or it may be dull. How the surface is looking like it is a rough or smooth, whatever, that is termed as the texture of the aggregate. It mostly depends on hardness, its pore structure, the rock structure. Rock structure means that aggregate. That aggregates geological formation, right? That is we are telling as the rock structure. So it depends on all these conditions and its hardness, grain size, and all. Okay. Whenever the aggregate is very hard and dense, these kind of aggregates have smooth fractured surfaces. When the surface smoothness increases, the contact area decreases. Means if the surface is very smooth, means there will be no friction. There will be no friction. If there is no friction, there will not be any bonding between the aggregate and the cement paste. That is what here they are just telling us. The contact area will be lesser. So what happens means that this highly polished particles will have less bonding area with the cement matrix when compared to the rough particles of that same volume. So the smooth particle, however, it requires a thinner layer of paste to lubricate its movement with other particles. It will therefore permit a dense packing for equal workability, and it require lower paste content than rough particles. Okay. When we are comparing some smooth and rough texture particles, smooth particles does not offer any bond, but the cement content required for that to make the whole volume of concrete is lesser in smooth textured aggregate. That is what they are here concluding. Next, there will be one question. Which one is better, whether a rounded aggregate or angular aggregate? Right. First of all, angular aggregate, it really exhibits a very good better means it exhibits a very good interlocking effect in concrete. Okay. So it makes the concrete suitable and preferable for roads and pavement. On the other side, the total surface of this rough angular aggregate is more when compared to the smooth rounded aggregate. So the rounded aggregate means it has a smooth finishing, whereas the angular aggregate has rough finishing. Okay. So the total surface area of the angular aggregate will be more when compared to the smooth rounded aggregate. Since the surface area is high, the angular aggregate will show high bond strength compared to rounded aggregate. On the other side, this angular aggregate requires more water. So, since it's requiring more water, the workability will be high. Hence, the cement content will also high. So, as a conclusion for these two problems, since we having a problem, one kind of advantage in angular aggregate, but one kind of disadvantage, that is the cement requirement will be more, water requirement will be more for the workability and all. So, what they have concluded is for the water cement ratio below 0.4, the use of crushed aggregate has been resulted that the strength up to 38% higher than the rounded aggregate. I hope you will be understanding. There is some kind of confusion. That is whether we have to go for rounded aggregate, that is the smooth aggregate, or rough angular aggregate. Okay. When we are thinking about that angular aggregate, it has very good property. That is, it has very good binding property with the cement paste, but it requires a high amount of cement when compared to rounded aggregate. So what they have concluded is for the water cement ratio up to 0.4, the use of the crushed aggregate has resulted in the strength up to 38% higher than the rounded aggregate. Okay. Next, we are going to discuss about the mechanical properties of the aggregate. At the same time, we will be discussing the tests on the test what we are going to conduct on the aggregate. Okay. First, we are going to discuss about the aggregate crushing value. It determines the strength of the aggregate. Okay. First, we should discuss what is the strength of the aggregate. Am I right? So, the strength of the aggregate is influenced not only by the origin of the aggregate, means we know some kind of rocks exhibit very good strength, so that we can't conclude that the aggregate obtained from that rock will offer very good strength in the concrete, because if the strength of the paste or the bond between the paste and the aggregate is low, the concrete will be of very poor quality, however the strength of the rock or the aggregate may be. Okay, so what is very important in making concrete is the strength of the mortar paste and the bond. That bond between the cement paste and the aggregate is very important. If it is low, the bonding between the paste and the aggregate is low, means there will be only very poor quality concrete. Okay, so from the above, it is concluded that while strong aggregates cannot make any strong concrete, to make that strong concrete, strong aggregate are an essential requirements. First of all, strong aggregate is also important. So, for example, when cement paste of very good quality is provided and its bond is also satisfactory, means the mechanical property of the rock and the aggregate will influence the strength of the concrete. Obviously, it also influences the strength of the concrete. So everything is important. Its mechanical property is also important, and also the bonding between the cement paste and the aggregate is also important. The compressive strength of the parent rock does not surely indicate the strength of the aggregate in the concrete. So what for this only we are deducting the strength of the aggregate by the sample of bulk aggregate in a standard manner. Okay, this test is known as aggregate crushing value test. So in aggregate crushing value, we will be determining the strength of the aggregate that we are using for the making concrete. Okay, aggregate crushing value is a measure of, it's a relative measure. Okay, it's a relative measure of the resistance of aggregate sample to crushing under gradually applied compressive load. So here what we are going to do is, first the test sample. Okay, the test sample is chosen such a way that it should pass through 12.5 mm ISC and it should retain on 10 mm ISC. We are taking some amount of aggregate so that it should pass through 12.5 mm ISC and finally it is retained over 10 mm ISC. The aggregate that is to be tested is dried in the oven at the temperature of 100 to 110 degrees Celsius for about 4 hours. What we are getting that sample which should pass through the ISC of 12.5 mm, then it is retained on 10 mm ISC. Later that sample is dried in the oven at the temperature of 100 to 110 degrees Celsius for 4 hours. Okay, then this cylindrical steel cup here you can see, right, that is filled in 3 equal layers. Okay, that whole sample is split into 3 equal parts. First they will put one part and it is tamped by using the tamping rod. By tamping, 25 strokes of tamping will be provided over that layer, over the first layer. Okay, next again we will be adding one more layer and again we will be tamping for 25 strokes. So this will be repeated for all the 3 layers of the aggregate. Now the net weight of the aggregate in the cylindrical steel cup is determined, okay, to the by using a weighing machine. Okay, this is taken as WA. And this weight of aggregate is used for the duplicate test on the same material. Okay, the cup is fixed firmly in the position on the base of the machine and the whole of the test sample is added in 3 layers subjected to 25 strokes using that tamping rod. Okay, now the surface will be leveled and the plunger will be inserted so that it rests horizontally on the surface of the floor. The whole assembly is then placed between the platens of the testing machine and loaded uniformly at the rate of 40 tons for the period of 10 minutes. Okay, then the load is released and all aggregate is removed from the cup and it is again sieved on 2.36 mm sieve. This IS sieve until no further significant amount passes in 1 minute. The fraction passing through the sieve is weighed again and that weight is noted as W2 or WB. First what we are doing is, first we are oven drying the sample and we are tamping it by 3 layers. Okay, in the cylindrical mold, then that is a cylindrical steel cup and we will be measuring the weight of that cylindrical mold along with the aggregate sample using that weighing machine. That weight is noted as W1. And second, what we will be doing is, we will be keeping this cylinder under the compressive load and the load of 40 tons over the time of 10 minutes is applied on that aggregate and later this aggregate will be sieved on the 2.36 mm sieve. Okay, now the fraction that were passing through this sieve is weighed. Okay, the fraction that were passing through this 2.36 mm sieve is weighed and that weight is noted as W2 or WB. Okay, the ratio of the weight of fines that were formed to the total sample weight in each test is expressed in percentage. So the aggregate crushing value is given as W2 divided by W1 into 100. Okay. This gives the strength of the aggregate. This is how the strength of the aggregate sample is founded. This crushing value is restricted to 30% for the concrete that were used for roads and pavement. For other structures and all, the strength, the crushing value is restricted to 45%, means it should not be more than 45%. This is how the crushing value is obtained for aggregate. Another important point while we are discussing about that aggregate crushing value is fineness. Okay, the fineness value of the aggregate, because the crushing value of the aggregate is insensitive to the variation in the strength of the weaker aggregate. We are taking some amount of sample. We don't know how much aggregate is weaker and all, because the small size aggregate will be filling the gaps in the total volume of the aggregate, so it will be getting compacted before applying the compressive load over the aggregate. So for this reason, what we are going to do is one simple test called 10% fineness value. Okay. So what is the procedure to determine this 10% fine value? This will be similar to the aggregate crushing value, but there is only one small difference. Okay. Here also we are taking some amount of test sample. Okay. That we are passing through the same 12.5 mm ISC and it is retained over 10 mm ISC. Then the sample is again oven dried at the temperature of 100 to 110 degrees Celsius for the period of 4 hours. Okay. Again repeating the same thing. Okay. Again what is happening means the sample is divided into 3 layers. For each layer 25 strokes were applied using the same tamping rod. Now what we are going to do this the cylindrical mold is, this cylindrical mold along with the test sample is placed in the position with the plunger. Okay, the plunger from the compression testing machine will be placed over this sample. So when the load is applied at the uniform rate, okay, so it in such a way it should cause a total penetration to the into that aggregate using the plunger about 20 mm for 10 minutes. The load is applied at the uniform rate. Okay, some uniform rate is maintained for applying the load, so that it causes a total penetration of the plunger about 20 mm for normal crushed aggregate in 10 minutes. Within 10 minutes, the 20 mm penetration will be achieved, so that the uniform rate of load will be applied. Okay. For rounded or any partially rounded aggregate, the load required to cause a total penetration of 15 mm is applied. Whereas for honeycombed aggregates, the penetration will be 24 mm. Usually, the total penetration will be 20 mm. Okay. For some rounded or a partially rounded aggregate, we will be taking it as a 15 mm penetration. For honeycombed aggregates, the penetration will be increased to 24 mm. After maximum specified load is reached, the load is released. Okay, and the aggregate from the cylinder is again sieved using the 2.36 mm ISC. There what we did in aggregate crushing means we will be applying a constant load at the rate of 40 tons for 10 minutes. Here what we are doing is we are not applying load about some value and all. Here what we are doing is for the same 10 minutes, what we are going to do is we are going to penetrate the plunger for about some depth. Okay, generally it is kept as a 20 mm. For that 20 mm penetration, the load will be applied over the sample for the period of 10 minutes. After that, the sample will be crushed. The crushed sample is then passed through the 2.36 mm ISC and it is weighed. Okay. Then the load required for the 10% fine will be founded. Okay, here we are going to find the load that is required to produce a 10% finer. It is obtained by 14 into x divided by y plus 4. 14 into x divided by y plus 4. It gives the load required for 10% fineness in the aggregate. Here the X means load in tons. Okay. Y means the mean percentage fines from the two tests. The mean percentage fine from the two tests at this load shall be applied using this formula to calculate the load required to give that 10% fineness. Okay, this will give the 10% fineness of that is the load required for the 10% fineness in the aggregate. Okay, next we are going to discuss about the aggregate impact value. Okay, with respect to that aggregate's strength, toughness is also one important parameter when we are discussing about the aggregates. Okay, toughness is usually considered as the resistance of the material to the failure by any impact. That is an impact load. Whenever an impact load is applied, every material will offer some amount of resistance towards that impact. That measure of resistance is termed as the toughness. Okay, so impact value test means toughness, crushing value test means strength. So there is a difference between the strength and the toughness. Got it? Okay. Generally, this test is made on the single-sized aggregate. Okay, using aggregate impact value testing machine, which was shown in this figure itself. Okay. Here the test procedure is slightly similar to the same thing that we have discussed for aggregate crushing value. Here also we will be taking some amount of the sample which were passing through the 12.5 mm sieve and retained over 10 mm sieve. Then the aggregates will be oven dried at the temperature of 100 to 110 degrees Celsius for the period of 4 hours. Then it is splitted into 3 layers and it is tamped 25 strokes using the tamping rod. Okay, and the surplus aggregate, which means the excess aggregate, will be struck off using the tamping rod. The net weight of the aggregate in this cylindrical mold will be taken as W1. Okay, this will be taken as W1, and this was the same thing happened during the aggregate crushing value. Then then we will be taking one hammer. Okay, the hammer weight is 14 kg. It is raised about 380 mm. That is the height of fall of the hammer is 380 mm. Height of hammer means the height will be measured from the surface, that is the upper surface of the aggregate in the cup. That is the mold we are taking. No, above the upper surface of that sample, the height of fall of the hammer will be 380 mm. So what we are going to do is, using this 14 kg hammer from the height of 380 mm, we are going to fall freely over this aggregate for 15 times. Okay, the 15 times you are going to fall. We are going to put that hammer over this aggregate. Okay, so the time interval that is taking place between every one time occurrences, it should not be less than 1 second. It should be more than 1 second. 1 second kulla we should not drop that hammer. So for 15 times we are repeating this again and again. So the impact load, that the same amount of load is we are repeating for certain time, for certain period. That is called the impact load we are giving over this aggregate. Now what again we are doing is, again the crushed aggregate will be removed from the cup. Now it is sieved using that same through 2.36 mm IS sieve. Okay, then its weight is also measured, which is noted as W2. So the aggregate impact value is given as W2 divided by W1 into 100. This is also expressed in the percentage. If the aggregate impact value percentage is less than 10%, it is exceptionally tough or strong, which means it is too strong. When it is less than 10% means it is very strong. Okay. This is some exceptional cases because that much strong aggregates are not practically possible. When the aggregate impact value is between 10 to 20%, it is very tough. Okay. It is very tough. It is also a very good aggregate. Next, when it is between 20 to 30%, it can be used for pavement surface course. When it is greater than 35%, it cannot be used for the payment surface course. Here we should be noting, we should note one more thing. This aggregate impact value is restricted to 30% for concrete that we are using for roads and pavements, whereas for other structures it should not exceed 45%. Okay. Next, we are going to discuss about aggregate abrasion value. Abrasion means we will be knowing about that term already. Abrasion means a wear and tear of the material. Okay. It is apart from we are testing aggregate with its crushing value and impact resistance and all. It is very important to test the resistance to its wear and tear action. Okay, that because of our road constructions and all, road constructions even for house floors and pavement and all, it is very important aspect. Abrasion is a very important aspect when we are considering aggregate, when you are especially going for road pavements and all. Okay, usually there are three tests are there. One is a Dewell attrition test, second one is a Dory abrasion test, and third one is Los Angeles test. Okay, first one is a Dewell attrition test, second one is Dory abrasion, and third one is Los Angeles test. So first Dewell attrition test. In Dewell attrition test, what we are going to do is we are going to take one iron cylinder, okay, to which we are going to subject that sample we are taking, that aggregate sample we are taking will be subjected in that iron cylinder, and it will be rotated about 10,000 times at certain speed. Okay, so what happens means when it is rotated in the iron cylinder for this times, for this 10,000 times, it starts crushing. Okay, it starts crushing. After that, it will be taken. So then the crushed finer particles, that is, it is when the crushed particles are finer than 1.7 mm sievers, expressed as a percentage of the original material. This percentage is taken as the attrition value. Okay, this test is based on the IS code IS 2386 part 4 1963. Okay, but here itself they have denoted that wherever possible we shall move for Los Angeles abrasion test. Compared to this Dewell attrition test, this Los Angeles test would be better. So that is what here they are mentioning. This Dory abrasion test is not doesn't follow any IS specification and all. Okay. Here what they will be doing means they will be taking one cylinder whose height will be 25 centimeter and the diameter will also be 25 centimeter. That sample will be placed over that cylinder, and the 1,000 resolutions will be done. This determines the hardness of the aggregate. Okay. Next, we are going to discuss about the Los Angeles test. Los Angeles test, what happens means the same thing that they will be taking the test sample and it will be oven drained for the period of 4 hours at the temperature of 100 to 110 degrees Celsius. Now the required weight of the test sample that we have oven dried is taken as A. Okay. This and one more thing, this test is based on the IS code 2386 part 4 1963. So for Dewell attrition test and Los Angeles test, both we are using the same IS code IS 2386 part 4 1963. Okay. Now after oven drying the sample, we are taken as the weight of the sample as A, right? So this test sample along with the abrasive charge means they will be using some ions, so small ions. Okay, because they will be putting both together in the machine and it will be rotated at the speed of 20 to 33 rpm. Okay, you can see this machine. So it will be looking like this. Okay, they will be putting some iron small iron balls, iron spears will be putted along with the aggregate sample, and it will be rotated at the speed of 20 to 33 rpm. After the completion of the test, for 20 to 33 rpm, it is a speed of the rotation. So number of rotations is 1000 revolution. Okay, 1000 revolutions will be permitted. After 1000 revolution, the material will be discharged from the machine and the separation of the sample is made using that 1.7 mm ISU. You can see this is similar to the Dewell attrition test. Okay, there they will be subjecting the sample to 10,000 times with a certain speed. Here they are using 1000 revolutions. Okay, the material that were coarser than 1.75 mm means the materials that were retaining over that 1.75 mm sieve after this test is weighed, and this weight is noted as B. Okay, so the aggregate crushing, abrasion value is obtained by A minus B divided by A into 100. Okay, this abrasion value again, it should not be more than 30% for wearing surfaces, and it should not be more than 50% for concrete, other structures, other concrete structures like, okay, other than wearing surface, it should not be more than 50%. Okay. Till this we shall stop. Up to this we have discussed some of the important characteristics about the aggregate and its mechanical properties and its testing methods. I mean some tests for us, for its strength determination, for its toughness and its abrasion and all. This is enough for this session. Next session we shall discuss remaining characteristics of the aggregate that is required for the making concrete. Thank you all.